Okay.
Hey.
Hey there.
Hi.
It's nice to see you again.
Yeah. I feel like you've been like the most regular Zoom contact I've had, and now we're just doing it again
Yeah.
on Facebook.
Yeah, and I just for those of you who don't know, Stacia is my housemate at the lighthouse, and she's been not only is she my housemate, she's like one of my dearest sisters who's really been through thick and thin with me, and someone who's been like I would say, and I know we might even get into this in our chat. Like, I feel like she's one of those relationships in my life that I feel so securely attached with. That I feel like she's there for me when I need her, and I'm there for her when I need her, and we're just such beautiful mirrors and reflections for each other, and we have lots in common. And I'm really glad that you said yes to being here with me, my experiment. Yeah. And again, like, I don't know where this is going. I know that you and we can take it in lots of different directions. Though, like, one of the things that I've been inviting, or, I've only had 2 interviews, but, it's like, what is your quarantine lockdown experience kind of brought up to the surface for you? What are some of those deeper, hello, look at me, knock knock, Stacia.
Yeah, it's a big question, as you know.
Start there.
Yeah, I noticed that I can feel some tears really close to the surface. Just want to speak that.
Yeah, it's been a big time.
Yeah, and just you acknowledging that sort of secure attachment that we've been developing for some time. It feels really important for me, and particularly at the moment, because what's been coming up and knocking at the door really a lot more recently is awareness of attachment stuff. And to some extent I've got folders with attachment theory articles from a couple of years ago that I haven't read properly or forgotten about, and you bringing it back into the field recently with hanging out with your friend in the States and sort of coming into contact with that and sending some podcasts and tapping back into that, and then listening to this audiobook that you also sent through. I've been like really like sort of confronted and relieved at the same time of seeing some of my childhood attachment styles and my what's come from my parenting and my childhood upbringing, friends, etc., and how that plays out in my relationships, and particularly still, choosing to be in this sort of fluid, open style of relating, even though I have had an ongoing partner in Gera for over 10 years now. And yeah, it's actually like what I'm enjoying at the moment is feeling more secure in myself and realizing how, and I'm not really sure how I think I was saying, I don't know, to you or Gera or something the last couple of days, I wish I could like wrap up and bottle whatever, not that I want to commodify it so much, but like to be able to share with others what the shift was, because there's been this shift of how to say that, like a shift in how I want to relate with a sort of, I guess, ex-partner, because there was a separation of Gera's coming back in to connection and this real clarity with this greater awareness of attachment stuff, and this is what I need and this is how I want it to be, and not enforcing that, which is what an old part of me used to do, the anger that used to like try come in and protect actually the sadness and the fear and the real desires and wants that didn't feel okay. And something's changed, and I think some of it's just like I don't want to do it how it was before, and we all don't want to do it how it was before because it didn't work for any of us. It worked in some ways, of course. So there's this something at the moment where I'm realizing that the most, a loving thing, I don't want to say the most loving thing, but something that I'm discovering around loving myself. And I've had so much feedback from all of you in our heart shares of, babe, just be more kind with yourself. You just need to be more kind with yourself. And I'm sort of getting what that means in a really different way at the moment. Or I can just say, hey, I want this to look like this, or this is what I'd really long for. This is my ultimate desire, and sort of putting it in the middle on the table without an expectation that it's picked up and that everyone has to go, oh my God, that's what she wants. I need to do it so that she's happy, so that everyone will be happy, kind of thing. And inviting others to meet me in that. It's like, oh, well, what do you want? And what do you want? And if I can hear your stories, then we can all take each other's stories, which we're all part of anyway, into account as we take the next step. And yeah, there's a real relief in my system that I feel I've got a clearer pathway to bring through what I want, particularly in this relating dynamic. And also it's transferring to the household stuff as well. I could carry on, but I'll take
Yeah,
a
and
break.
it feels like one of the things, I mean, obviously I know you very, very well. It's like that risk, the risk it
Yeah.
takes to actually say what it is we want, or say what it is we need, or make the request, because it's almost like, even kind of stemming from the past, the trauma of like having a need and that need not being met. So it's almost like there's this numbing, or this kind of like, well, I don't want to be hurt, or the rejection is too painful, or the rejection means I'm not good, or I'm not loved. And then just actually this deepening into self, where it's like, actually I love me, and actually my needs and my wants are absolutely worthy of being like had and
Yeah.
voiced, and the risk it takes to bring that to other people, knowing that they may not be reciprocated. The amount of courage it takes to actually like, oh, I might get rejected, but I'm going to put it out there anyway because I fucking love myself. And if I don't put these needs out there, in a sense, it's abandoning myself.
Yeah, totally.
Which, as you know, is something that I've been moving through over these past couple of months of like, wow, in not speaking my needs or not speaking my truth, I've actually been abandoning myself in the same ways that I've experienced abandonment from other. And how when I stop abandoning myself, like I'll never leave me. Like I'm always there for me. And how that builds that self-trust and that confidence to be like, I'm okay, even if this need is not met.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like what comes after putting that out there is sort of irrelevant, even though it's connected and and related and relational. But the act of saying, hey, this is what I really want is it's a completion in and of itself, within me, for me, of me. And yeah, if I cannot abandon myself by giving these like tender parts or the strong, clear parts of voice, then I can be with other and not abandon other as much. Yeah, and stay in my center. And it's like, well, this is just what I want, but I'm also choosing to be aware that other people have different perspectives, and no one is going to see it exactly how I do. So if I put it out there, I have some chance of having my needs met. But if I don't, I've got no chance.
Right. And how it's kind of this like unconscious expectation that so many of us, I'll say I, because can't speak for anybody else except myself, though. It's like this expectation that somebody other than me should fucking know what it is I want or what it is I need, because they're my lover, or they're my good friend, or they're my parent, or whatever they are in relation to me, that they should know. Though actually, how would they know if I've never voiced it or never expressed it? And yeah, I just been realizing, sensing just how there's just been so much subtle subtle sabotaging within myself by having these expectations, and then being pissed that my expectations aren't met. Which is just such a head trip. And again, like you and I, and the work that we do and that we advocate for in the world, is so much about taking self responsibility. And how I feel like over these past couple of months, especially during the lockdown, even before I left for America, like we've been really kind of practicing so much of just like, how do we keep on taking more and more responsibility for ourselves, and letting go of the expectations we have on each other, by simply showing up and sharing what's happening. Because then other people actually know, like, oh, I really like it when you send me, for me personally, being kind of appreciating uh, affirmation and acknowledgement, and that the people in my life love me and they're there for me, because I tend to go into this kind of like anxious, like, oh, where are they? So by me saying, I really appreciate when you just send me a little emoji every other day. Just if whenever you think of me, just send me a little emoji, and that's something that I've been having more courage to say. It's so simple, but it's like, oh wow. And then this other person is like, oh, I know how to let Phoenix know that I love her. It's like this very simple thing that then they know, because I've stopped expecting them to just call me whenever, and actually said it really supports me to feel your love, or kind of, it just supports me when I get these little reminders. And again, it's like, I don't have to hold on waiting for those little emojis or little messages to come, but at least I know I've played my part in expressing to those that I'm in relationship to, this is one way that you can support me.
Mm.
And that book that I'm gonna about to send you, called Your Brain on Love by Stan Tatkin, that's like one of the things he talks about, is how, like, when we're in relationship with others, it's almost like we have to give them the user manual, because they just don't have it. And I know Rich and I, when we were married, we always used to joke like, oh, the manual for Phoenix, like the Liddy manual, like we were writing the Liddy manual to help him understand how to meet me in a way that was really supportive, and vice versa. And hearing this professional therapist that's done all this research talk about the user manual yesterday was like, yes, such an affirmation that it is in a sense our responsibility to do that with the people in our lives, if we want to remain in connection. And are we willing to take that on as part of being in connection, being in relationship, where I'm curious, how do I tend to you best, Stace? And this is how you can tend to me best. And just having the courage to put that out there.
And also risking getting it wrong. I mean, I don't want to speak in wrong or right. As you know, I don't particularly like that language, but risking asking for something that you might 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 days later realize, oh, actually, it's not what I want. But I needed to ask for it to realize it's not what I want, or I needed to receive it to feel, oh, that's not quite it. It's more like this, or because there's so much conditioning that, and I'm noticing this for myself, I have so much conditioning where I think I want something to be a certain way. And so I can ask for it, but, I might get feedback from you or somebody else. And it's like, hey, I've heard you say you want these other things and it doesn't feel aligned. And do you want to just check in where that's coming from? Or yeah, just asking for something and then getting feedback from the universe around, that didn't quite feel like it met that need I thought it would. Or, oh, that's just some old mental story that doesn't serve me anymore, that thinks it wants that, or some old survival mechanism that wants something. And so just, yeah, I feel like I've created somehow some spaciousness, and definitely the lockdown phase, and having spaciousness and just having pretty much our household in the household for months now. There's been this spaciousness that where I've been able to sort of sit back with so many less distractions and look at this stuff and experiment with it, and and having such regular heart shares as we do in our household, and getting feedback from everyone, and people willing to support each other to really unhinge and unhook and reconnect wires to places that are more useful, so that energy can flow in our systems and in our family, in our household. It's been really incredible.
Yeah, we really have something so special that I know most people in the world probably don't have. We definitely live outside of the typical boxes, especially in the way, like, even when I was home, like some of my blood family being like, what do you mean your family in Australia? What does that mean they're your family? And it's like, yeah, they're my family. And it's like these people that I trust, these people that I can bring my heart to. And even just my mom understanding and being on board, like, yeah, they're her family. Or you got to go back to Australia, baby. You got to go to your family, and just the way that we've been cultivating this, it's like independent of partnerships. And I think I don't know if it was you or I that had that conversation, it's like, it was during a heart share the other day, when it's like partners, when you have a partner, it's like they're reliable and they're always there for you. But actually, you guys are there for me. Like my friends have become more of that, like more of that solid ground that I feel I can really surrender into, because I've had the experience. Partners, they tend to come and go, and those relationships are in constant flux, and the perceptions sometimes get skewed because we're so entangled, and I might not see my partner quite clearly sometimes. But it's like with my friends who I'm not so kind of physically intimately woven with, sometimes they can actually see me more clearly outside of the triggers and the stories. And it's like, you're just there. Like, whether we break up or we have a tiff, like, y'all are still always there. And that, I feel like this, in our household and in our community as well, but mainly in our lighthouse experiment, that we've really been pushing those edges of relationship and what it means to really be these solid forces and these solid mirrors for one another, that we're not going anywhere. Like, we've tested and tried it many, many times, and no matter how you try, how hard your like attachments or your trauma is trying to push me away, I'm still here and you're still here. And that's been, I feel like that's been one of the greatest healing forces in my life over the past couple of years, knowing that I have cultivated friendships and relationships in my life that, despite who's my partner, that these relationships are solid, like a family. You're not going anywhere. Just like my mom's not going anywhere, my brother and my sister-in-law is not going anywhere. They're in it. They're lifers.
Yeah. Yeah. And as I hear you say that, I notice my sort of slightly different experience in that, because, yeah, of course, I feel like that absolutely and solidly with you and with the household, because we're all living here and there's people that are here by default that they're living here. And there's still, like, I just had this memory as you were talking about probably the last quite big, process that I had, emotional process with you and Caitlin and Gero, where I was having a lot of emotional fear come, and seeing the three of you there lovingly wanting to support me, and this part that was terrified that if I stepped into or leaned into your invitations for support, that you would just manipulate me.
Yeah.
And this really, I can feel some sadness come about that, because I know that old story that, stems back to school experiences. I won't go into all the details, but there's some part of me that's learned that, that people might trick me and then manipulate me.
Yeah.
And this scanner that's been on guard for a long time, before that, even the survival scanner, which is also part of my hawk medicine, as we've talked about, the hawkeye that can see everything. And if someone's lost something in the house, I generally have seen it and know where it is. And, there's some really magical gifts that I've developed from that survival mechanism. And it's still, in the context of friendship, it's still, I still tread cautiously.
Yeah.
And totally recognize, the value of that, the value of not placing that in, placing all of the safety in the relationship with Gero. And he is, still the safest person because he knows all the little details, and yet he's also one of the most dangerous people because he triggers the abandonment stuff at the same time, and the not being understood or listening or sharing, or the things.
Yeah. And I can say, from like being a witness, how that's also shifting and changing. It's like we carry our own wounds, so it's like my experience, and I've had a couple of years since the separation, since the breakup of my marriage, where I had to lean in. It was like survive. I would have died. It was like literally my animal needed to survive by finding other people to support and hold me during that really like internal, the burning of the old me. And so, and I've learned through kind of time and testing and trialing that, oh, okay, this is a safe place. And I know from witnessing you that that's also shifting, because like you said, you have these old experiences or these old traumas that kind of go back to your childhood where it wasn't safe or you felt like you'd be manipulated. But again, it's like, I know when you see me, it might be a moment of kind of going back into that little girl, but then it's like after a time, there's a part of you that's like, oh yeah, I can trust, and that's how we build that trust, is by continuing to show up
Yeah.
and having the experiences that over time almost like override. I don't want to say override, but rewire and reprogram the old stories,
Yeah.
repattern.
Yeah. And that's definitely what's happening. Like, kind of going back to what I was sharing right at the beginning around just being more aware of my attachment styles, and more aware of, being an only child and having a lot of solo time and needing transition time to shift from one space to another often, and just so many little things that where I'm just sort of, it feels like the stories which, come from the emotional energy that we've just been holding in for such a long time as well. Some time ago, I could, I was, that energy would come, that triggering would come, and I'd just be in it. It would have me. And I can feel more and more now. It's just like there's a little voice out here saying, don't trust them. It's not okay. Something's happening. But more and more, I'm like, oh yeah, I can hear you. And do I really want to be the lead role in that story? And it's like, nah, it's painful. And, life is, pain's part of life. But it's just feeling.
Yeah.
If I can just be like, yeah, no, I don't want to be in that story. I want to choose to create and trust something different. And that's been it's been a really big unpacking and shifting, as you know.
Yeah. I would say that's probably been one of the bigger themes over this quarantine in your reality that we've I've had the privilege of being a witness to, even being on the other side of the planet. And yeah, I'm a testament. I'm like, I can see how far you've come, and just, again, and I know that you see that in me as well. It's like this solidification of this inner witness, or this the one who's always in the center, even when voices are like, this person's fucking with you, and they're manipulating you, or they don't love you, or they're going away, or they're abandoning you. And it's just kind of like, yeah, I've got me. Yep, I see you. I've got me.
Little fragile voice over there.
Yeah. And that I feel is such a, it's a work in progress. And I know that the tools that you introduced in my life the past couple of years with the possibility management stuff, and really, like allowing the fears and allowing the sadness and allowing the anger to really move through and inform me, has been such a game changer.
Yeah.
And I wanna just kind of like, we started touching upon it before we went live about like, if I may go there with the David Attenborough video I watched last night. The planet, I don't remember the name, but it's like Our Planet or something. David Attenborough, I'll tag it. But how I was watching it last night, and I just was devastated watching just like how we humans, we've literally, we're destroying our planet, and we've taken over this planet. And he articulates it so beautifully. But what that led me into when you and I started talking about it before the live is just how, giving ourselves permission to feel the, like, to really feel it. And how in the world we're like on mass, we are these like numbed out human beings, just like really doing our best. And I talked about it yesterday in my personal share about this armor that we wear, that this armor not only keeps us connected from connecting to one another, but it like keeps us from being touched by the world. And how, like, I know that you would attest, it's like feeling our feelings, I feel, is what's going to heal this planet.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Allowing ourselves to feel the depths of our sadness and our grief, that like, fuck, we fucked up. We have really fucked up. And rather than flagellating ourselves over it, how can our feelings be the key to healing and connecting us? And I'd love you to riff on that, because yeah. Or riff with me.
Yeah, yeah, it's a topic that's really at the surface at the moment again, because I just ran the fear workshop here in the Sorceress workshop at Seven Sisters a couple of nights ago. So I was sort of talking about that, and from taking a step back perhaps, but how so many of us have, as you said, we're quite numb, and we only feel stuff when it gets to this heightened level, rather than the information that can come at a much more subtle level, where we can take perhaps more proactive and preventative actions, rather than the big emotions that come in reaction to stuff that's just not working. And we've just been pushing down so much for, I was speaking for myself, but I know it's the case with many millions of people. Yeah, we just haven't learned to feel. We haven't learned what they're for. We've learned to cope with feelings rather than be resourced by feelings. And there's so much energy that we're walking around with and holding down, and so much energy that we're using to not feel the fear because it feels too overwhelming, or the sadness that I might drown in, or the anger that might be too destructive, or the joy that might be too invasive to other people's spaces even. And it's this, like numbing, and it's futile, and like we're damaging our own bodies and planet, this planet that is our body. And of course, we need to feel, and we need to take responsibility for all this stuff that's clogging up our system, so that we can just allow that to be expressed in really safe ways, and be able to clear the channel, the hollow bone that you talk about, to clear the channel, so that we can actually be receptive to like 5 and 10% of anger that's a little bit of like, oh, there's an irritation, something's not right, I'm going to go take action on that, and be in the flow of that information that comes with our feelings and the energy that they bring, so that we can take action. And instead of sort of like, oh God, I can't look at that because all of this stuff that's in here just is going to come up if I look at that, and it feels too much. And actually, that's what being human is. And that's, to me, what part of this map is. We're talking about the map, sharing our personal maps with others so they know how to work with us. But there's also a human map, of how to be human. And I really think a big part of how to be human is remembering how to feel and what it's for.
Absolutely. Again, yeah, it's like I mention it often. There's that one there's a song that one of the lyrics is, to get to God, to like know our divinity, we must first learn to be human. And to be human isn't just like, oh, the polished, again, it's just like the premise of these lives. It's not about being polished and like, I've got my shit together and this is this message that I have, but it's like the full breadth, the full spectrum of being human. And the feelings are the key. And like, again, it's like, watching that video last night, that documentary, I just, I was literally, it was like 3 a.m. because I couldn't sleep. I still haven't adjusted because I'm in a room without sun. So it's like my body clock, my circadian rhythm is all off. So I woke up at 2 a.m. and just laid there. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'll watch something until I fall asleep. So I found that video, and just watching it and crying, like just hugging myself and crying, like seeing the destruction that we've caused to this planet, but like allowing myself to feel it, and not like, no, I'm going to shut it off because it's too much. So actually what I realized is that in feeling it, I can be part of the solution. By feeling it, it puts me into action. By clearing, but like you said, by allowing myself to feel and like allow those feelings to move through and flow through, then there's a clarity that arises. I can be more connected, more compassionate. I feel my anger, that it's like, I want to go find a way to be in action, to support or advocate for. But it's like, without giving myself permission to really feel or to see, how often in the past I might just, no, I don't want to see because it's too intense. And I do have a level of that in certain cases, though I feel like in moments it's necessary for me to really open and look and allow myself to be like, whoa, there's a lot out here, and to just let it move me, let it really touch me, let it pierce through my numbness, so that I can be more human and more feeling, but that and I can empathize more for other humans, but that I can actually, yeah, be part of the solution to support my bigger body, which is this planet that, yeah, I love so much. I love so much. And the thought of losing this planet, it, yeah, like that video really woke me up. It really jolted me from a slumber that we're like hitting a tipping point. And how can I be in service? And again, it's like why I brought it up with you this morning. It's like the feelings work seems to be such a huge key.
Yeah, I've had a few people ask me my opinion on climate change because, of course, it's a topic that's been up for many years. And my answer is predominantly quite similar, that we need to heal our inner climates. Like if I'm numb, then I don't feel anything when I see the forest being destructed, or I don't feel anything when I see animals being put into cages, or I sense I might feel something and then I go and look at Facebook, or I distract myself with something rather than actually, feeling the earthquake that's in me, and the lightning and energy and electricity that's in me, and the floods and torrents that run through me, and the animal that I am, and actually being able to, feel the energy rather than sort of shut off and come back up to this program that holds knowledge that's static from the past, that we try and sift around in to find answers for from old information, and that's not about what's happening right now. What we feel energetically in response to now is so informative and constantly information. Keep talking about that. And if I feel I am part of the planet, as soon as I feel authentically and responsibly, I am already part of the planet. I'm already connected in. That's how I connect in. And, you know me well enough to know I don't always choose that in every given moment. And I think we do a pretty good job of that.
Yeah.
On many levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too.
Yeah, I don't really feel like I feel like, yeah, that feels, yeah, I feel pretty complete in that regard. Yeah, like, yeah. Is there anything else that you feel to share or to like instigate or?
Nothing's clearly coming through right now. It feels just like a landing place.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Me too.
I know we could go in many directions.
Yeah, I also want to I'm already thinking like, oh, I want to call Stace when I get off this live because I want to keep going, and also want to honor that, I don't want to take up, I want to honor people's bandwidth, people who are watching, and just learning that dance of like, and again, I could go into a whole nother topic about the sacredness of one's attention, and like how when we give one another the attention, it's like it's such a gift, and also not taking more attention, then it's like, thank you for your attention, and go offer it somewhere else now.
And don't forget to keep it plugged into yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I know I'm going to talk to you probably after this live, or definitely tonight, and I'm going to be home in a couple of weeks, and maybe this is the first step to our Phoenix and Firehawk show that we've been talking about on the back porch for years. So thanks for taking this one step in with me, Firehawk.
It's fun.
Yeah, I love you.
Love you.
Blessings. Bye.